Over the course of a game's history, we've seen champions shift from different roles and positions in the game. As far as my observations go, the jungle role has seen the most fluctuations throughout the course of the development. We've seen champions start off as junglers only to be transferred to lanes, to changes to the game for themselves, and we've seen champions being turned into oblivion but somehow thrive in the jungle. Even now we have champions finding a home in the jungle despite not exactly being in ranks of themselves, such as jungle echo being far superior to lane. It's always awesome when this happens, and your jungle roster ends up becoming more colorful as a result. However, it's always a worry of whether or not Riot actually approves of the champion being able to jungle, and whether or not they'll take it into concern with changes or enhancements to make it even more viable. Either way, there were champions in the past where this was not the case. There were champions who were able to jungle at least remotely effective, and in some cases at a competitive level. Unfortunately, Riot decided that the champions needed changes and in turn weakened their jungle tremendously and eliminated them from the game. Jungle-wise, I mean. Now, I won't say that you can't technically make these champions jungle right now, but they were far more effective in the past. Still, as most of us should know, being able to do something doesn't necessarily mean you actually should. The first one on this list is Darius. My god, was he by far one of my most favorite champions to ever play as a jungle. I actually used him to get myself to dominate. His jungle Jungle Karthus was by far one of my absolute most favorite jungle champions to ever play. He was ridiculously fast at farming, did tons of damage, and was a general nuisance to the enemy team mid and late game. He was a super unconventional jungler and broke a lot of rules at the same time. His jungle didn't really exploit anything or do anything fancy. Jungle Karthus simply nuked camps down with a spammable Q and farmed at a lightning pace. Who needs sustain when you can just melt monsters before they can hit you? Karthus would break the jungle convention during the seasons he was powerful in that he could build whatever the hell he wanted regardless of jungle necessities. While most junglers had to build for value and efficiency, Karthus just built Karthus items because come mid and late game, his passive would override the need for tank and utility items. Coincidentally, his Tear of the Goddess became easier to stack in the jungle since you were encouraged to spam the hell out of that more frequently in the jungle than in lane. Much like Darius though, Jungle Karthus wasn't nerfed out of the jungle but was simply phased out by changes to the game, the monsters becoming harder to kill and the removal of Spirit Stone was a big blow to Karthus. Even though he can still jungle, he gets far too beat up early now and his natural jungle oppressors have far excelled past him. I'm still hoping that Riot considers giving Karthus some jungle buffs to try to carve him out a jungle niche. Karthus feels like a champion that could make a naturally good jungler that could fill a weird niche not commonly seen in junglers while having plenty of weaknesses that can be exploited. Zyra, the champion that no one plays, was a ridiculously weird jungler. She was able to melt camps and use her plants to tank for her, so her sustain was deceptively high. Her utility is well known as well with her snare and her huge AoE knockup ultimate. What made her weird though was her item choices. Jungle Zyra was built using Spirit of the Lizard Elder because her plants actually procced it and it allowed her to trade her burst damage for sustained damage instead. After purchasing Leandries and Rylai's, she could basically lock down enemies and slowly whittle them down to death with her plants. Of course, a bursty build for her still existed, but having options is what made her great. She caught on with a few people and was used on and off in ranked as far as I remember, but Riot broke her legs at some point and really toned down her power. Her jungle still was doable, but she became slower and riskier in fights that it started making her dangerous to use. And of course, like Darius and Karthus, the jungle changes sort of phased her out of the jungle role. Still though, she was a ridiculously good ganker, although slow, and she could solo dragon with ease thanks to her plants. While easy to kill, she was very useful and she offered one of the best support jungler picks in the game. Perhaps one of the more stylish junglers, Jungle Twisted Fate actually made it into competitive at one point and was one of the reasons why Jungle Lee Sin got a revamp. You simply can't let a jungler with a short cooldown targetable stun exist. With that in mind, I actually don't have any footage of his competitive streak and simply have some super old footage before his rework when he was more niche and less competitive and the cool leeching tricks weren't there yet. Still though, he's someone worth talking about. Simply put, he was a walking stun machine that could set up kills and snowball teams super damn hard. In his earliest jungle iterations, he was merely niche because he had weak clearing and sustain, but his yellow card and ultimate was always a super deadly combination. That alone constantly made him someone that players wanted to jungle. So even while he was super gimmicky, he was still ridiculously dangerous and you had to be careful for his ganks. He reached competitive due to leech tricks similar to Jinx, allowing him to maintain his health throughout his clear, and of course Ranger's Trailblazer really helped. By overcoming his de facto worst jungle weakness, we were treated to one of the most brutal and frustrating junglers for a short time. I actually did not get to play him because he was constantly getting banned. Either way, you can still Google some tournament matches from last season I believe, where he was picked as a serious and threatening jungler. This channel is supported by my sponsors, Crunchyroll and Loot Crate. Check out the description below for links to the websites. Signing up for any trials, including Crunchyroll's free anime trial, greatly supports my channel. Also remember to give the video a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't yet.